I made $1,176 trading the Nasdaq this morning. March 6th here we're looking at. And basically I'm just gonna kind of walk you guys through how I did it, what my confluences were, and ultimately why I ended up taking this trade. So if we're looking here at the 1 minute, this was the trade. We entered here right away this morning at, let's see here, 10:24. Market opens and we buy, right? And we ended up taking out a lot of this buy side liquidity that was formed during the London session. So ultimately on the day, I am bearish, right? So if we go to the 4 hour, which I'll show you guys later, we can see that we have this big 4 hour fair value gap and a 1 hour fair value gap. What I wanted to see was for us to tap into this 1 hour and 4 hour fair value gap before making our move lower for the day. So when I was looking at market, when it opened up, I actually was very happy to see us have a lot of buys here so we can make our way up to those levels that I was looking for the day. And when we were looking for our sell, what we entered off of was a pretty risky 1 minute fair value gap, right? Little small one here, not marked out very well. I could probably do a better job of that. We had a little 1 minute fair value gap that wasn't very trusting, but I mean, I'm bearish on the day, so I'm gonna be taking my model when it appears, right? So we enter off this candle closure, basically disrespecting the current bullish order flow that we were in. And what do? We place some pretty tight stops. I would consider these pretty tight stops. Could have maybe chose some stops further back on some of those draws that was created during London. But we entered, ended up getting stopped out, looked really good off the start. Thought we were just gonna go absolutely bang TP, had TP set at this low right here. We ended up getting stopped out, but I wasn't too worried because I'm still bearish on the day, right? Like perhaps I just wasn't patient enough and wasn't waiting for this 1040 push up, right? Into the 1 hour fair value gap. So I was just a little impatient, ended up taking my first trade as a loss today. But what we're looking at here now is price actually making its way up into this 1 hour fair value gap, right? In doing so, we have created a 1 minute fair value gap that's a little bit more trusting than the most recent one that we tried to enter off of, right? So what do we see here? We see a 1 minute fair value gap being created, drag that over. Once we get that closure below, we ended up getting a closure below right here. We've just disrespected the current order flow, and we've also rejected off of this 1 hour fair value gap. And in the grand scheme of things, if you look at it, we're also within a 4 hour fair value gap as well. So this is just all that much more confirmation of my trade. So we end up entering off of this 1 minute closure below this fair value gap. Stops above this high, stops right at this high, kind of within this 1 hour fair value gap. So that if I'm wrong, I mean, it would just be a bull day. So what we're looking at here is candle closure, enter, stops at this most recent high. And we ended up taking out partials at our original TP level for our first trade because this is where my original draw was for the day that I was going to be happy with. But I'm thinking, if we just rejected this 1 hour and 4 hour fair value gap, what's stopping us from moving lower past this point, right? Once I see us start disrespecting a lot of this bullish order flow to the top and having this rejection, I'm confident enough to start putting TPs down here at these lows, right? So we have TPs down here, and we ended up taking out some pretty conservative partials. I was in this trade for 4 micro contracts on the Nasdaq. We ended up taking 2 partials right here at this line where my original TP was, and we just ended up letting the other 2 basically fly, let them run, right? Just because we were confident enough within the trade. But usually after taking partials, I do move stops down to break even to make it a winning trade no matter what. But in this case, I didn't, and I'm very happy that I didn't. What I was looking for was us to kind of have conservative stop loss on this trade because I was already unhappy with the swing highs that we had here. But the reason I didn't move stops down to break even exactly is because if we would have seen another failure swing high, I would have been stopped out. And yes, of course, I still would have made money with my partials, but I wanted to see one swing high, which I was very happy with, failure swing high, which we had. But I was just curious if we were going to get one more. And my one more would have ended up right here where I entered. So pulling stops down to break even just wasn't the play for me this morning, so I didn't, and I'm very happy I didn't. I obviously would have been stopped out. But we ended up making as much money as we possibly could with this trade, so ended up letting those other 2 contracts run down. We ended up making $1,176, and I'm going to kind of scale up to the higher time frames here so you can see what I'm talking about with these 1 hour and 4 hour fair value gaps that we used. So as you can see here, we have this 4 hour fair value gap. opening around the day here. Basically, this is at 2 a.m. So this was created during London session, or partially Asian session as well. Going into the day, we see this 4-hour fair value gap. Mark that out real quick. What do we want to see before we potentially move down to this draw on the 4-hour and this draw on the 4-hour? We preferably want to see price come visit that one more time before making its move down. So if we scale down to the 1-hour as well, what do we see? We see that we have a 1-hour fair value gap within here. Mark that out. We wanted to see price potentially come in. Right here is where we were at this morning looking. We wanted to see price come tap up into this 1-hour fair value gap and hopefully reject off to come take out these lows here. So with these two fair value gaps being paired together, what did we see? We saw us come tap up perfectly within the 1-hour and within the middle of the 4-hour as well, and we had our proper rejection, hence why we ended up taking our short trade. So yeah, I'm gonna actually go ahead and scale back down to the 5-minute here. Yeah, so the 5-minute actually shows us a very good, kind of a clear example / description of why we ended up taking shorts here. I mean, you can just see prices within this fair value gap for the longest time without making a breakthrough. And once we kind of saw us come right up into this 1-hour fair value gap on the 5-minute, we were pretty confident that we were going to be selling off for the rest of the day. And we ended up just placing our TPs down at these draws that we had marked out originally. So that is basically the confluence for my trades today. Only thing I potentially was a little riskier on today was not moving stops to break even. That's kind of against what I usually do. I'm a big bring stops to break even after we hit partials kind of guy. But with today, what I was mainly trying to do was, first of all, we took out partials at a pretty conservative level and we had a lot more to go, right? So our stops were already conservative as well. So at this point, it was kind of just free reign. Like, it's either going to be a break even trade by getting stopped out and taking partials altogether, or it was going to be a just let it hang and, you know, get down there to our level that we had marked down. That's what we ended up doing, and it ended up paying off. So into the future, not sure if that's a viable strat, but I mean, it worked out today. So I guess I don't really have much more to say about that, but that was today's trade recap for March 6th, $1,176. So thanks for watching. Leave a like if you liked what you saw, and comment if you want me to explain in more depth anything, whether it be the time frames, fair value gaps, draws and liquidity, anything like that. And I would be happy to make a video on that. So thanks, guys.